Darkmind, the unknown. I don't think people understand the true terror of the unknown. The plane hummed, a low, constant vibration. It was a sound that usually brought comfort to frequent flyers, a reminder of the journey ahead. But today it felt different. There was an undercurrent of unease, a sense that something was not quite right. Outside, the clouds stretched like a blank canvas, hiding the world below. They seemed serene, almost too peaceful, as if masking the turmoil brewing inside the aircraft. The wing sliced through the clouds, a silent witness to the growing tension. Inside, tension filled the air. It started small, a murmur, a shift in seats. Passengers exchanged uneasy glances, their whispers growing louder. The usual hum of conversation was replaced by a palpable sense of dread. Then a woman's voice, sharp and scared, cut through the engine noise. Her words were frantic, filled with fear. She stood in the aisle, her eyes wide with terror, drawing the attention of everyone around her. She spoke of impossible, terrifying things. A man on the plane, she said, wasn't who he seemed. Her voice trembled as she described him, her fear infecting those who listened. The flight attendant tried to calm her, but the woman's panic was contagious. Worse, he was not alone. He was a shapeshifter, she insisted, his true form hidden. Her accusations were wild, unbelievable, yet the conviction in her voice made people look around nervously, searching for signs of the impossible. She talked about unseen symbols, about an ancient enemy, about Baphomet. Her words painted a picture of a hidden world, one filled with dark forces and ancient battles. She showed drawings, symbols that seemed to pulse with a sinister energy. The other passengers listened, fear and a strange fascination twisting their faces. They were caught between disbelief and the primal urge to believe in something greater, something terrifying. What started as a normal flight was about to become a nightmare. The atmosphere was thick with tension, every creak of the plane, every whisper amplifying the sense of impending doom. The journey ahead was no longer just about reaching a destination, it was about surviving the unknown. Her voice was tight, strained, sweat glistened on her forehead. She pointed a shaking finger down the aisle. "He's not real," she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "I saw him change." Heads turned, following her gaze. There, in a normal seat, sat a man. He wore a green hoodie, its hood pulled low. "Baphomet," the woman hissed, her voice barely a whisper. "He's marked with the sign of Baphomet." The word hung in the air, heavy with ancient dread. Baphomet, the sabbatic goat, a dark figure of mystery often linked with the occult, with forbidden powers. Across the aisle, a young man clutched his phone, his face pale. His eyes darted around nervously as if searching for an unseen threat. The tension in the air was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. "She's right," he muttered, his voice shaking. His words were barely audible, swallowed by the hum of the airplane engines and the murmurs of other passengers. "I saw it too. On TikTok. People are talking about it." His eyes were glued to his phone screen, where a flurry of comments and videos were rapidly updating. The internet, that echo chamber of fear, had already grabbed the story. Posts and tweets were spreading like wildfire, each one more alarming than the last. Hashtags like #shapeshifterplane and #Baphomet were trending, fueled by blurry photos, shaky videos and whispered stories. The line between reality and fiction was blurring. A flight attendant, her face carefully blank, tried to calm everyone down. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her own fear. But even she couldn't completely hide the shaking of her hand as she reached for the intercom. Her fingers trembled as she pressed the button. The pilot's voice, calm and professional, did little to stop the rising panic. He explained the situation with practiced detachment, but the underlying tension was unmistakable. They were landing at the nearest airport, he explained, because of a disruptive passenger. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications, but the unspoken question lingered. What had they stumbled upon at 30,000 feet? The passengers exchanged worried glances, each one wondering if they were part of something far bigger and more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. This wasn't the only strange thing happening in the sky. Just weeks earlier, a man on a Ryanair flight had tried to open the emergency exit mid-flight, saying he needed to get out. Was it just a coincidence, or was there something more, something darker happening? The plane landed with a hard bump, the sudden stop a physical jolt after the tension. Police boarded, their faces serious, their movements practiced. The man in the green hoodie was taken off, his head down, his face still hidden. Was he a shapeshifter? The incident on the plane faded from the news, just another weird story in a world full of strange things. It was quickly overshadowed by the next big headline. But for those on that flight, the memories stayed, a disturbing echo in their minds. The questions remained. Was it a hoax, a delusion, or perhaps a collective hallucination brought on by stress and fear? Or had they seen a glimpse behind the curtain, a terrifying peek into a reality just beyond our understanding? The answers, like the shapeshifter himself, remained hidden, waiting to reappear when we least expect it. As the passengers tried to move on with their lives, strange occurrences began to follow them. Unexplained shadows in the corner of their eyes, whispers in the dead of night, and dreams that felt all too real. It was as if the incident on the plane had marked them, linking their fates to an unseen force. The more they tried to forget, the more they were reminded. The darkness reaches far beyond the confines of that fateful flight. It lurks in the shadows for all those on that flight, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself again. There are many more stories of the unknown. If you know a tale or unexplained event, comment below, and if I can gather enough material, I will post it and give you a shout out. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the shadows are more than just shadows. Thank you for watching. If you found this story intriguing, please subscribe to Darkmind Trap and share.